Yes, Dia, you can start.
So, good evening to one and all present here. I am Dia Shankar, an intern from DRaS Research Writing Program, and I will be the host for this event. To start, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guest this evening, Group Captain Dr. Srinivasan, Group Captain Parthasarthi, Sri Santosh Chandra, IRPFS, Colonel Sandeep Aluk, and Commander J.K. Nair. This evening, we'll have two presentations: a research paper by Mr. Prayant Pradev, titled "Economic Influence on South Asian Countries Sharing Land Boundaries with India and China," and our second paper will be by Mr. Yashodan Mirwankar. The title of the paper is "Comparative Analysis of Maritime ISR Capabilities of India and China in the IOR." Before I invite them to present their papers, let me familiarize you with the event for the day. We will commence with an introductory address by Group Captain Dr. Srinivasan, followed by the papers by our interns. After that, we'll have a short Q&A session, which will be followed by Commander J.K. Nair, which will be followed by speech about the DRaS Research Writing Program by Commander J.K. Nair. Finally, we'll have the mentor perspective by Group Captain Parthasarthi, and we'll end the program with a vote of thanks. I request all to keep their mics on mute for till the Q&A session. Now, I shall invite Group Captain Dr. Srinivasan to deliver the introductory note.
Thank you, Dia. In fact, Commander Ashok was supposed to be doing the honors today. He is traveling to Dehradun. So because of his travel, he is not able to join. So I'm standing in for this thing. I'm always happy for these kind of presentations by our interns, because this is one feature of our DRaS-Praghna Research Writing Program, where we not only mentor and guide our interns to undertake research in the topic of their interest, but we also encourage them, and they have been doing it nicely, to give a public presentation of their research. The objective, I'm sure all of us understand, is that if we have done some substantial research into a particular topic, we must also have the opportunity to put forward our learned thoughts and defend them if there are questions on those thoughts. That increases our confidence, and this kind of public presentations also help the interns to prepare for their future. If they enroll for their PhDs, if they go for even postdoctoral studies, everywhere they should be able to present their research and defend them. So this is a starting point, and this particular program is very happy to package it into our activity. All our interns have been doing it well. In fact, we have their presentations in our YouTube channel also hosted, because they're all very crisp and, I would say, well-researched presentations. Coming to today's this thing, we have Prayant Praved and Yashodan Mirwankar. Both of them, as is typical, I can say by now, with tremendous amount of confidence, not just some confidence, I can say that each of our interns, like these two, have taken topics which are out of the normal. So when you take topics which are out of the normal, then demand on us to look into the various factors that contribute to that particular phenomena, and those factors which may influence them, and assessing their probable outcomes. All this becomes a bit of a challenge. As far Prayant is concerned, he has taken a topic which should be very dear to all of us, actually, because all of us talk about China's extending influence in our neighborhood, South Asian neighborhood, and we are seeing many visible signs of it. But then it's not just the Chinese aspiration to become at least a dominant regional influencer in South Asia. It is also part of their larger ambition for whatever purposes they have in the world, which we all know. We keep debating about them all the time. So Prayant has taken a very, as I said, slightly outside look to see what are those factors which are playing into both, in favor and on against China as well as India, with reference to four of the South Asian neighbors. What are those factors which contribute to expansion of their respective influence, or are serving as limiting factors in the expansion of their spheres of influence? This comparative analysis, I'm very sure that all of us appreciate, is very difficult because it has to be very meticulously and logically without getting carried away by by our patriotic feelings because we are from India, without getting influenced by our personal feelings. It has to be done very meticulously, and I'm especially happy to say that Prayant has done a real good job of it. Okay. We have had very interesting discussions in the course of the last 3-4 months. There have been a lot of questions and troubles and tribulations in that research work, okay, all with the purpose of bringing more clarity in our thought processes. And the end product is something which we'll get to listen very shortly. Yashodan also has taken a topic which is slightly outside. He has taken the maritime ISR capabilities of both these countries, again China and India, and he has attempted to compare their capabilities and in the process showcase as to what are the advantages that each of these parties have and what are the disadvantages and what are the directions in which this ISR capability needs to be taken forward if either of the nations has to pursue their, I will say, their national objectives, because both of them are big players, okay, China and India, and they do have larger objectives, just not restricted to only their territorial limits. And therefore, such a intense evaluation of their capabilities and a comparison of those capabilities and drawing lessons from them, from such comparison, is important, not only from this thing. And what makes me especially happy, like just like in the case of Prayant is a technical graduate and he has stepped into international relations. Okay. Yashodan is a non-technical postgraduate, but he has stepped into a technical subject. Okay. That also, showcases the diversities that we accommodate in this program, and we are happy to have mentored and guided them in their research work to the best of their possibilities. So saying, I wish both of them the best in their presentation. Dia, you can continue.
Thank you, sir, for such an insightful speech. That was very informative. Now, moving forward, I would like to move on to the presentation half of the program. For our first presenter, I would like to call upon Mr. Prayant Praved, who will be presenting his research on economic influence on South Asian countries sharing land borders with India and China.
Good evening, mentors and all the guests present over here. Myself, Prayant Praved. I'm going to present the presentation on economic influence on South Asian countries sharing land boundaries with India and China. For this, I'm presenting my slide. So are you able to see my slide?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Brian, just check whether you can move the slides before you start.
So can you see my slide?
I can see a title slide now. Just
Mhm.
whether you can move to the other slides.
So
On the
is it moving?
no,
That means he has shared the file instead of sharing the screen.
yeah, you when you go to the present mode, you will find your
So I am sharing my entire screen.
yeah, okay, that is also okay. Otherwise, you can share only the show mode because the entire screen will create mirror images like now. Try and see if you can move. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. My topic for the research paper is economic influence on South Asian countries sharing land boundaries with India and China. And the focus is more on the economic ties, which is determining the foreign policy. The objective of this paper is to study the preference in terms of trade in terms of trade and investment between South Asian countries, India and China. The second objective is to see the trade balance between the South Asian countries, India and China, which directly or indirectly influence the policy in South Asia. Areas of investment in South Asia by India to retain its influence in the region. The research question which I have put for this paper is analyze the preference in terms of trade and investment between the South Asian countries, India and China after 2018. I have restricted myself to the last 5 years and analyze the direct and indirect interference in the internal affairs of the neighboring South Asian countries by China and India in the last 5 years. What are the ways to generate confidence among the neighboring countries with respect to India? To investigate this issue, I have adopted the methodology quantitative cum qualitative, and with the help of primary source and the secondary source. Uh, in the case of the first of all, why what is the importance of South Asia for India and China? For China, the South Asia is the intersecting point of continental and maritime belt and road initiative. uh, Even it is in the China, it is blocked by the two island chain in the east. So they are searching for alternate route for their trade. And the average growth of the South Asian countries is 6%. So it is an attractive destination for investment. And for the Indian interest, it is the desire to continue its stronghold in the South Asian region and to avoid being encircled by the external powers. So the country-wise, we can see that in case of Afghanistan, uh, mm, uh, uh, India has invested highly on the high impact community development project, in which it has funded 37 small and medium projects like school, health, road, irrigation, water management, government building, sports facilities, etc. India has helped in building Satut Dam, which is providing safe drinking water to the Afghan people. Even the hurdles in the Atari-Wagah border has created more importance for the Chabar port, which is going as an alternate trade route to the Afghanistan. In the case of Pakistan, we can see that we have we have a very inimical relation. We have fought four war, and so that we have the wavy pattern in trade, and because of after the abrogation of Article 370 from the Indian Constitution, most of the company are accessing the Pakistan market via Dubai route. The example of this is the Dabur. And in the case of India, in the case of Nepal, we have India is serving as the largest export market of Nepal, and it is also the biggest source of Nepal's import. India is also a friendly nation, which is the largest donor of foreign aid in Nepal, which is affected by very climatic conditions, climatic natural disasters. And India is the top investor in the foreign capital stock. 30% of the total FDI in Nepal is from India. And in this 30% of FDI stock, the India has 65% investment in the service sector, the 33% investment in the manufacturing sector, 2% investment in the primary sector. So India is a big stakeholder in the Nepal. For the case of Bhutan, Bhutan is more friendly country with India, and we have the restructuring initiative in 1999, and with the restructuring initiative of 1999, the Bhutan stressed more on gross national happiness for economic and spiritual development. In the 1949 Friendship Treaty 1949, which was signed between India and Bhutan, they which allowed not let their territories for the activities inimical to the security and interest of national security and interest of others. India also funded the Bhutan's first and second 5-year plan. The agreement on trade, transit, and commerce it made the easiness in trade for the following years, coming years. But in the case of China, if we see, the China is investing in Afghanistan with the interest of extending its extended its China-Pakistan economic corridor, which is a part of Belt and Road Initiative, to secure its interest and capture the site of Miss Enyak, which is a copper mining site. The interest of China for its electronic industries. It is also investing in Afghanistan to secure its region of Xinjiang and to make the route, Belt and Road route safe. China is also interested in investing in Pakistan. In Pakistan, it has made the establishment of Pakistan-China Economic Corridor in 2017, and it has invested hugely in Gwadar Port. Through Gwadar Port, it is which is a part of the Belt and Road Initiative. It is trading towards making its presence in the Indian Ocean region. Even China is in investing in Nepal, the Belt and Road Initiative, the rail project and the road project, transmission line connectivity. In 2017, it has signed an agreement, the transit trade treaty in 2016, and the investment, it has made investment in Nepal. For the Afghanistan, for the Bhutan, it doesn't have any formal diplomatic relation, but still it is pressurizing Bhutan for establishing formal relation, and so it has its point in the Rio Summit 2012. It has even done an Doklam dispute 2017, which is indirectly seen as putting pressure on Bhutan to establish the formal diplomatic relation with it. Bhutan is the country which is not falling in the debt trap diplomacy of China, and have a forced market access. Uh, but if we see the trade balance and trade pattern, in the case of India and Afghanistan, we see the trade is more in favor of positive in favor of India, and India export more of the raw material, finished good, and the Bhutan, Afghanistan is exporting more of raw material to India. But in case of China, it is the same pattern. Afghanistan is exporting more of raw material to China, and it is getting more of finished good in from China. Uh, uh, if we see, if in case of India-Pakistan relation, we see the wavy pattern. The year 2019-20 is the year which is there is a sharp decline in the trade, and it is because of the abrogation of Article 370 from the Constitution of India. Article the year 2020 and 2021 was declined because of the COVID-19 effect, and after that there was some increase in trade, but there is more pressure from the Pakistani traders to establish a more formal more formal trade relation with India. In case of China, Pakistan, the trade is more towards in favor of China, and the Chinese are Chinese have established exported intermediate goods, capital goods to Pakistan, and China has imported the goods like textile, clothing, raw material, intermediate goods, and consumer goods from Pakistan. In the case of, if we see the trade balance and trade pattern of India and Nepal, then we can see that the trade is again in the favor of India, and the products which India is exporting to Nepal is petroleum oil, animal and vegetable fats, pre-edible fats, tea, meat, tea, spices, textile fiber, paper yarn, beverages, spirit, and vinegar. Whereas Nepal is exporting sweetened flavored water, cardamom, plastic articles, black tea, fermented tea, jute fiber, which are basically the agricultural products. But if we see the case of in China and Nepal, the trade is the Nepal is exporting leather carpets, bell, other or metal ornament, essential oils to China, whereas the China is exporting telephone, manufactured goods like telephone, knitted and knitted fabrics, synthetic fabric yarn, light fixtures, etc. India, Bhutan has a good trade relation, and we can see the trade between India and Bhutan is that it is in more favor of India, and Bhutan is being more not being more more manufacturing country, so it is exporting goods like ferrosilicon, manganese, oranges, betel chips, cardamom, which are agricultural products, and the quarrying product. But India is exporting passengers cars, which is a manufactured goods, petrol and diesels, wood, rice, electric generator, motor parts, turbines, etc. In case of Bhutan and China, we can see that the Bhutan is exporting consumer goods and food products to China in minuscule amount, whereas in China is exporting machines and electric goods, consumer goods, textile fuels to Bhutan. But the main thing between which my paper has analyzed, that why this region are having this type of trade. If we see the findings, then we can see that South Asia is the lowest economic integrated region in the world, and it contributes to only 5% intra-region trade. Most of the countries in the South Asian countries are dependent on agriculture. Agriculture is contributing 20 to 35% of the GDP. For example, Afghanistan is Afghanistan GDP is funded by agriculture to up to 30%. The Nepal GDP is funded by agriculture up to from 35%. The bilateral trade balance is more in favor of either India or China. Uh, the domestic instability in the region, which is the country like India is unable to tackle it, but the China is cautiously taking the step and observing the scenario to make a more depth relation with the countries. In Nepal, it has invested in the schools and for the promotion of the Mandarin languages. It has also invested in Nepal for the building of Pokhara Airport. It has made the route to the Lhasa and Xinjiang. And the Xinjiang, Lhasa to Xinjiang region, and then it has in the South Asian countries, we can see the consumption expenditure is more towards the categories like food, clothing, footwears and transport, and low towards education, culture, recreation and healthcare. So these three traits are of the developing and underdeveloped market. They are not investing more on recreational activities. They are investing on consumption expenditure. And the delayed response from India for the completion of project due to inadequate funding is creating a bad image for India in the neighboring countries. Whereas the positive point for India is that India is funding and India is investing in the neighborhood with the no quid pro quo principle, vis-a-vis that uh, China is following the take back principle uh, from the respective countries. The fiscal risk are also posing a problem for the country in this region, and these countries are not able to manage their fiscal strength, and so India can play a role of guiding them for diversifying their loan portfolio and avoid debt trap diplomacy of China, rationalizing their expenditure. Even the game of easy cash and lucrative investment played by China with the help of Belt and Road Initiative, it can guide the countries to avoid this avoid this debt trap problem. Uh, One of the main important thing which I my paper has seen is the problem of administrative functioning. Like in India, we have five department dealing with the countries for investment and trade. Under Ministry of External Affairs, but the China is having only three department dealing with the investment and trade. And moreover, if we see the scenario, we have more complex hierarchy in India, whereas in China we have only two layers: director general and deputy director general, which are as a hierarchy in any department. So it is easy for them to make an investment, make a easy calculation, and invest effectively. Um, The sources which I have concerned for my paper is the direct sources, which is the trade statistics from Ministry of Commerce, the World Integrated Trade Solution data, the South Asian Development Report, the paper by A.S. Chima, China Gamble in Afghanistan, the paper by A. Barar, Afghanistan is next in China's Eurasian connectivity dream, but old problem persists. The SQ Hasmi paper, China Belt and Road Initiative and Investment. The United States Department of Investment in Islamabad has paper investment climate statement. Pakistan has been referred. The paper from DK Kharel from the Kathmandu University, Nepal-China bilateral economic cooperation empowering is being referred. The more such paper have been preferred for taking to make a depth analysis in this paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Prayant, for that informative and really intriguing paper. It was really interesting to see and learn what influences and what key factors were playing a role in the South Asian countries and how China and India held their influence over them. Moving forward, I would like to call upon Mr. Yashodan Mirwankar to present his topic on comparative analysis of maritime ISR capabilities of India and China in the IOR.
Thank you, Dia. Am I audible, sir? So, good evening to everyone present here. I'll share my presentation. Please let me know if it's visible.
Yeah,
Is my presentation visible, sir?
Yeah, visible, but just check whether it is, you can change the slides. Yeah, okay.
Are the
Perfect.
slides more? Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So, again, good evening to everyone present here. My name is Yashodan Mirwankar, and today I'm going to give a presentation based on my research paper titled Comparative Analysis of the Maritime ISR Capabilities of India and China in the Indian Ocean region. The objective of this study is to enhance the current knowledge on ISR capabilities of India and China by synthesizing and evaluating material from multiple sources. This study would reveal the ability of the respective forces to track adversary activities, manage conflicts, and further shape the security landscape of the Indian Ocean region. Talking about the research methodology, the method applied for the paper is solely based on secondary data. Existing sources of information, such as academic papers, reports, publications, and online databases, have been used to collect pertinent data related to the concerned research topic. Moving on to the research questions, The following research questions were drawn to develop an analytical conclusion related to the topic. The first question inquires into the concept of ISR and exemplifies prominent systems used for the said purpose. The paper has also provided a historical evolution of ISR to answer this question. After establishing the significance of ISR in the Indian Ocean region, the second question is drawn to understand the various ISR systems used by the countries concerned. The third one is to analyze factors influencing the ISR force structure of India and China, China's successful integration of advanced ISR systems, and its implication on India. And the fourth question is to recommend some suggestive measures to India. Before investigating the concept of ISR, it would be beneficial to understand its relationship with maritime security. Maritime security refers to various steps taken to protect the oceans, coastal areas, and maritime infrastructure from various threats such as piracy, terrorism, smuggling, and illegal adversary activities. It entails safeguarding of ships, ports, and maritime trade routes to enable freedom of navigation, commerce, and conservation of maritime resources. Effective maritime security is critical for ensuring global stability, economic development, and the safe transportation of goods and peoples through world's waterways. Now, the most significant step involved in having an effective maritime security is the collection of relevant information from the plethora of data available. Information collection provides necessary situational awareness to safeguard maritime activities, assets, and interests. It enables security services to spot potential threats proactively and identify the intentions and capabilities of the adversaries. This helps the decision makers to allocate funds, personnel, and technologies in areas required. It ensures efficient utilization of the available security apparatus to address the most pressing security concerns. Human intelligence, that is HUMINT, have been in use to collect information since time immemorial. Although HUMINT is an important element of intelligence, it has its limitations. With the advent of modern technology in the contemporary times, the process of information collection has become way too complex as compared to the pre-industrial revolution era. Events like the World Wars and the RMA after the Gulf War had exposed the limitations of information collection solely based on HUMINT. Therefore, HUMINT augmented with TechInt, that is technical intelligence, has proven to be fruitful in this era of information warfare. And this is where ISR systems come into picture. ISR stands for Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance. Intelligence is the collection, processing, integration, analysis, evaluation, and interpretation of available information concerning hostile or potentially hostile forces and the areas of actual or potential operations. Surveillance is the systematic observation of various domains through visual, electronic, photographic, or other means. Finally, reconnaissance is the activity that utilizes the characteristics of intelligence and surveillance for mission accomplishment. Given below is the collective definition of ISR as per the US Department of Defense. It involves merging of intelligence and operations to make informed decisions and actions. Thus, deployment of ISR systems proves to be a critical step in mitigating risks of the maritime theater and ensuring successful maritime situational awareness. Now, before moving on to why ISR in the IOR is taken into consideration for this paper, this is for several reasons. Firstly, the Indian Ocean region is a major conduit of international trade. It is a critical route for energy transit, especially for oil and natural gas. Nearly 80% of international oil shipments and 33% of bulk cargo travel through this region. The region also provides transit to an estimated 90,000 cargo vessels every year. The region has reported an overall trade of $7 trillion in the year 2022. Secondly, nations with influence in the region can exert control over economic flow and thus gain economic leverage. To achieve these objectives, major powers sought to establish and expand their military presence in the region. As a result, the Indian Ocean region has become a stage for global power transition. And thirdly, the rapid rise of China. China has also been expanding its footprint in the region. The People's Liberation Army Navy, that is PLAN, is currently in the third stage of its three-stage development plan and aims to emerge as a dominant blue water navy by 2049. To meet its interest, China is pursuing intelligence collection in the Indian Ocean region. Chinese research vessels have visited the region on several occasions in the past few years, and these are suspected of espionage activities. The docking of vessel Xiangyang Hong 3 in Maldives in March 2024 and the frequent visits of Xiangyang Hong 1 and Haiyang Shiyu 760 in the eastern Indian Ocean are some prominent examples of these increased activities. This development affects India's interest in the region and its position as a resident power. As a result, it is imperative to have a comprehensive analysis of the ISR systems developed by both the countries. The domains considered for analysis for this paper are space, air, ocean surface, that is ship-based, and ocean subsurface, that is underwater. We will first investigate into the space-based ISR assets, that is satellites. These satellites are classified based on their functioning. We'll first look into the SIGINT satellites. SIGINT stands for Signal Intelligence, and they are further classified into ELINT and COMET. ELINT stands for Electronic Intelligence because they gather intelligence from electronic sources. According to the Military Balance Report 2024, China has 81 SIGINT ELINT satellites, and India has only one. The most prominent ones from China are Yaogan and Shijian. The Yaogan satellite work in triplets and can accurately zero in on the electromagnetic source, which a single satellite can find hard to identify. This feature makes Yaogan one of the best reconnaissance satellites available in the present era. Talking about the Shijian variant, these are used as test bed for launches. Their island operations are unscheduled, and they have exhibited orbital movements in the past. Now, these activities have raised concern over China's intentions regarding the Indian Ocean region. The only Indian satellite in this category is EMISAT. It was launched in the year 2019 for a mission duration of 5 years. The given data depicts that India is far behind China as far as ELINT variant is concerned. Talking about the COMET variant, they are suited for communication intelligence. China has 11 of those, including Zhongping, which is a dual-purpose satellite. While India has only 2 common satellites, GSAT being the most prominent one. Moving on to the IMINT category, IMINT stands for Imagery Intelligence, as they gather data from photographic sources. China has a huge quantitative advantage over India, as it has more than 100 IMINT satellites as against 15 of India. The Gaofen series, that is GF series of satellites, is a part of China High-Resolution Earth Observation System. This system seeks to construct an all-round Earth observation network with high spectral, temporal, and spatial resolution. The Yuhai and Haiyang satellites are specifically deployed for ocean surveillance. These satellites have better resolution than their Indian counterparts and could also provide 24/7 surveillance of any worldwide location with a revisit time of as less as 10 minutes. This is evident from its satellite, the GLINT variant. On the other hand, Indian IMINT satellites with the likes of Cartosat and ResourceSat 2A have relatively higher revisit time and lesser resolution. Supplementing its traditional space-based ISR assets, China has also developed a few advanced satellite systems in the form of TDRS, that is tracking and data relay satellites, and quantum communication satellites. Tianlian is a TDRS constellation developed by China. It has one of the fastest transmission speeds of gigabits per second with a daily capacity of terabits per second. This reduces the transmission rates to minutes instead of hours and can effectively bypass the ground stations for this said purpose. Along with this, in 2016, China launched its MISSIS QUESS, which is the world's first quantum communication satellite. This technique has the potential to replace many traditional SIGINT satellites. If China successfully implements quantum messaging across all systems and networks, the ISR infrastructure will be more durable and secure, as these systems encrypt data in quantum packets, rendering it into a potentially non-hackable network. India does not possess any of these systems as of now. Now, moving on to the next domain is the ocean-based, that is ship-based ISR assets. So in accordance with the CMC reforms of 2015 and the Chinese Defense White Papers released in 2015 and 2019, Plan has taken the center stage amongst the 3 services to have a 2-ocean strategy and further expand Chinese footprint in the Indian Ocean region. Since the past 2 decades, Plan's naval fleet has tripled in size, and it has now emerged as the largest naval force in the world. Based on the Military Balance Report, the given table depicts the quantitative analysis of Plan and Indian Navy's surface fleet capabilities. It depicts that Plan has invested heavily in hardware and has an edge over the Indian Navy. Plan's destroyer fleet is 4 times, frigate fleet is 3 times, amphibious fleet is 11 times, landing ship fleet is 7 times, landing craft fleet is 6 times, and logistics support fleet is 4 times greater than their respective Indian Navy counterparts. Moreover, Indian Navy does not possess any cruise category ship as of now. It is likely that China would use its maritime militia, fishing fleet, and research vessels as ISR assets to track the movements of hostile maritime activities. In March 2024, the Chinese ship Yuan 3 was spotted in the Bay of Bengal when India had issued a no-fly zone for a possible ballistic missile test. Again in the same month, another Chinese ship, Xiangyang Hong-1, was found in the region during India's maiden test of its ballistic missile Agni 5. Now, these developments, along with the relative size of plan as compared to the Indian Navy, is bound to have inevitable implications in the naval balance of power of the Indian Ocean region. Now, let us investigate the subsurface, that is underwater ISR assets. The underwater ISR infrastructure is composed of submarine fleets, unmanned underwater vehicles, that is UUVs, and underwater sensor networks. Talking about the submarines, Plan has the world's third largest submarine fleet. It consists of 59 submarines and is considered to be very advanced. India, though being a major power in the Indian Ocean region, quantitatively lags China, as it has 16 submarines. Out of the given number, Plan has 12 nuclear-powered submarines, while India has only one. The study has found that China has 6 Jin-class SSBNs, 6 Shang-class SSNs, 17 Yuan-class SSKs, and 13 Song-class SSKs. The Song, Shang, and Yuan-class submarines of China are equipped with long-range cruise missiles, while the Jin-class submarines are equipped with submarine-launched ballistic missiles. On the other hand, India has only one Ariant-class SSN and 15 SSKs with no SSN and SSB-class submarines. The Yuan-class submarines of China are also equipped with advanced air-independent propulsion system, which is known for its non-detectability and high endurance. At present, India does not have any AIP-equipped submarine. In case of UUVs and underwater sensors, India has not reached the same level of sophistication as that of China. China's advancements in this segment is complemented by its relatively more developed industrial base. China's UUV program dates back to the 1980s, while the research and development in this segment is a recent phenomenon in India. Considering this drawback, India in 2023 has undertaken an ambitious project to indigenously design and develop an XL UUV, that is extra large unscrewed underwater vehicle variant for the Indian Navy. The project aims to deliver a prototype by 2025 and procurement of 12 XL UUVs upon successful testing. Coming to the India's underwater sensors, they are mostly based on sonar technology, unlike China, which has forayed into quantum radar technology. After development, it will be the world's largest quantum radar network. China is also likely to extend its underwater monitoring network with the help of its Undersea Great Wall project. The project is said to be placed at a depth of 2,000 meters, but its location is classified. There is a perceived threat that China might extend its network beyond its territorial limits. Such developments strengthen the maritime ISR architecture of China beyond its traditional theater of the Western Pacific and signal its arrival in the waters of the Indian Ocean region. Now, moving on to the last domain investigated by this paper, it is the air-based ISR systems. The study finds that all the prominent Chinese AWACS systems, that is, early warning and control systems, are based on AESA radar systems. Their communication network is also equipped with advanced very high frequency and ultra high frequency antenna, which enables smooth transmission over a wide spectrum. The KJ500 variant of AWACS is equipped with satellite communication technology. India's AWACS, although significant, are yet to compete with their Chinese counterparts. India's indigenous AWACS based on the advanced AESA and ESAA systems are still under development. For example, the Netra MK2 system is expected to be acquired by the Indian Armed Forces by 2026 or 27. The study has also found that Chinese alien fleet has a quantitative advantage over India. And the most eminent factor of the Chinese alien fleets is that all of them are indigenously developed by China, as against India, which is yet to develop a maiden operational alien aircraft indigenously. In case of unmanned aerial vehicles, that is UAVs, China has leaped forward in indigenously developing a wide range of MALE and HALE category UAVs. MALE stands for medium altitude and long endurance, and HALE, high altitude, long endurance. Chinese UAVs are technologically better off with advanced surveillance equipments like electro-optical and infrared cameras, ELINT radar arrays, and sound synthetic aperture radars. While India's UAV programs like China, India got its first indigenously manufactured male category UAV, Drishti 10 Starliner, in January 2024. While in case of HALE UAVs, China has an advantage as India has no operational UAV in this category as of now. Based on these findings, the study has identified a few factors that directly influence the ISR force structures of both the countries. China has leaped forward in investing in those factors since the 1990s and have systematically rectified the flaws and further bolstered its situational awareness capabilities. On the other hand, India's military modernization drive is hampered with skepticism given the past experiences and certainly due to policy paralysis. Drawing contributions from available data, this paper recommends some suggestive measures to improve India's ISR infrastructure. Firstly, India needs to steadily increase its military expenditure. If we look at China, it had allocated an estimated 296 billion US dollars to its defense sector in 2023. It was a 6% increase over 2022 and 29th consecutive year-on-year growth in its military spending. On the other hand, India's military spending was 83.6 billion US dollars, or roughly it is just one quarter of that of China. Thus, we can see that China has had better hardware capabilities than India in the defense sector. Therefore, in order to counter China, India will have to dedicate a major portion of its defense budget to research and development and naval modernization to have state-of-the-art ISR capabilities. Effective budget management and prompt procurement of defense equipment would ensure optimal use of funds for military preparedness. Effective use of military expenditure can be supported by structural changes in India's defense industrial base and military industrial complex. India's MIC has been historically affected by entry and exit barriers. Since the recent past, India has been taking rightful efforts in eliminating these drawbacks. But given the expansionist policy of China, this process needs to be accelerated. ISR systems could also be equipped with development of strategic bases like the Andaman and Nicobar Islands and the Lakshadweep Islands. The recent commission of INS Jatayu on the Lakshadweep Islands is one such illustration. India can also develop foreign bases just like Chabar port of Iran. India can also introduce ISR-specific training and development programs for its personnel to enhance its human capabilities to keep it ready for any information warfare against China. Finally, streamlining of the command and control structure can enhance India's ISR capabilities. The Inter-Services Organization Bill 2023 empowers the commanding officer to exercise full command and control over a unit, ship, or establishment, including personnel from other services as well. This would provide more disciplinary and administrative powers to the officers, unlike the existing structure. A potential streamlined command can help in successful observation of ISR mission accomplishment. Along with this, theaterization of commands can improve operational efficiency as well as decision-making process. These theater commands can integrate the ISR systems to provide comprehensive situational awareness and real-time information. India could also create a centralized maritime command to oversee all operations in the Indian Ocean region. Apart from these suggestions, India can also augment information from land-based as well as cyberspace ISR assets. The former was not included in the paper due to its continental orientation, while the latter was omitted as it falls under the ambit of cybersecurity. However, both these domains could also provide vital intelligence for maritime security, and further research on these topics could provide a more comprehensive understanding of the topic. Now, these are some of the sources that I have referred to. Mr. Bomakanti is a scholar in situational awareness capabilities, and this paper has drawn contributions from his expertise on naval and space capabilities. The analysis of air-based assets was supported by the findings derived by Mr. Dam in his research paper. This paper also heavily relies on the military balance report released annually by the International Institute of Strategic Studies. This report has provided the necessary quantitative data for assessment. Information regarding China's expansionist ambitions backed by its ISR infrastructure was derived from research papers released by Brookings Institute and Congressional Research Service. Further, I have also referred to primary sources like ISRO, DRDO, China State PRC's official website, and CIPRI report for relevant information. That's all from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Yashodan. That was truly an analytical paper, and it was amazing to hear. It is also interesting to know the gap between India and China within our current ISR capabilities. And hopefully, we'll be able to make up for it in the future. Now, moving on, I would like to open the stage for a question answer session. Those who have their doubts can now unmute themselves to voice their doubts.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Parmar, sir, please go ahead.
Hi, Jai Krishnan. Good to see you.
Hi, sir. Long time, sir.
We have been shipmates many, many years ago. All right. First of all, naval parlance, a bravo Zulu to both presenters. I've already put my comments in the chat box. Deep research. Few issues. First presentation. This is more like China targeting India's immediate neighborhood, SARC. Okay. And I'm not sure if it was included or may have missed it, but would FTA benefit a more better trade balance in South Asia and provide avenues for India to maybe combat China's ingress? That's one. Second point, following Sri Lanka's debt trap and India's survival line that was sent to it, and there is indicators that Maldives may follow next. It's there. So what is it that India can offer well in advance as a counter? All right. And under the label of debt trap. That's something you may like to look at if you haven't already looked at it. One. And do remember that for the last financial year, China has bypassed US as India's main trading partner with a trade deficit of 80 billion US dollars. Now, that's not a very happy situation. So even if India wants to counter China, then there are certain things we have to do from our side. So this is just thought a few pointers I'd give to Prayant. And for Yashodan, this it's very lucrative to mention strategic bases, and islands are sort of the it's a flavor of the season, I would say. But to build a strategic base, there are two things. One is space and area, which are limited in islands. What infrastructure you want to set up, because do remember there are CRZs in existence. One, and then these bases would need protection. So by and large, if you are looking at strategic bases and you're looking at all this ISR, which you did mention in great detail, then I would say that it is better to sort of have it on mainland where you can offer protection. After all, it is ISR, and as you correctly said, there are assets, space assets, assets at sea that will provide you the inputs, information, and where they are located. That is the reason why we have made IMAC in Gurugram, why the Fusion Center is in Delhi. Okay, not because it also gives you greater protection, because this is the nub. And with today's net-centric approach, I think Jai Krishnan is more qualified to speak on that net-centric operations, And you did mention theater command. So the aspect of that act which you mentioned for command and control is internal. But the proof in the pudding is that would we be able to run as efficiently with theater commands and sharing of information? Right now, we're all diversified. There is a huge difficulty in transfer of information or intelligence between the three services. Just by creating theater commands or an administrative structure is not going to help. It is jointness that has to come sharing of information and role. So I'm not sure how much theaterization will actually help. Okay, and straightening of strategic bases, well, you can have a relook at it again, right? Do remember we do have a segment of space, the Defense Space Agency, and that itself is in Bangalore. Okay, because your information and all is not only for sharing them between the services, it is supposed to be pan-India. Okay, and the National Maritime Domain Awareness Project has just got the green signal, both approval and budget-wise. Okay, So there are a lot of issues that need to come in. If you are going to say interconnect, all right, your air defense, your inputs from your radars across the sea, if you're going to do it and interconnect with the MDA outlets which are positioned there and the inputs that come in from the army, you're looking at a huge quantum of information. Bande wahi hain. For processing takes time, filtration takes time, processing takes time. So it is the efficiency of the existing machinery that matters. And you did mention the budget. Well, all the best to that, but I don't foresee an increase in the budget. I think this is what 13% is what was some allocation defense budget of the whole GDP. All right. So there are limitations, and you have to offset the balances between acquiring hardware, and what we want. Atmanirbhar is a good process. I'm not sure if you did mention it. My apologies if you did and I missed it, but I think we need to look in-house. We're quite good at it, all right? And then, of course, do remember we have ISET with the US, all right? We have sharing of technology with our strategic partners. That's a window that can be explored. I mean, semiconductors with Taiwan. And I'll just share this with you. I was couple of months back, I was in a conference with New Zealand people at a think tank in Delhi, and our lunar mission. Some of the chips were manufactured by India New Zealand collaboration coming from a factory somewhere near Bangalore. I never knew that we had this sort of depth of interaction, say, with New Zealand also. So there are many avenues, that are available. So if you really want a good ISR, then you need to look in-house. Cyber, you mentioned, it is protect. One is your intelligence and information. Second is protection of your systems. So even when you look at the Chinese, they set up this, what was called the PLA-SSF, Strategic Support Forces, right? They have broken it up because they realized it's too big. If you look at the charter of PLA-SSF, it was too big. So they have broken it down into smaller agencies. So even if you're going to look at ISR and what you said, then the cyber has to come in any case. We have an office, tri-services setup that looks at it, but that's just the beginning. All right. So it's a very interesting way you've put up, but I just thought I'll put out these comments out front. It just sort of came to mind, and I'll pause here. Thank you so much. Very informative and well done, both of you.
Thank you for your suggestion, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Dia, you can proceed.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your informative words. So they were really enlightening, and I think something that all of us can basically use in our papers and our research journeys as well. Moving forward, we would like to move on to an important segment of our program, a discussion on the DRaS program. To lead this segment, I would like to invite Commander J.K. Nair.
So am I audible, sir? Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you, sir. Good evening, senior scholars and youngsters who are present here. First of all, may I thank Captain Parmar sir for coming in. He was my CEO in INS Shardha. He was a great officer who was having phenomenal amount of knowledge. Last I knew was he was in NMF New Delhi. Currently, probably it was a great surprise. I have to ask him where he is now, which I'll do it after this particular after this VC. May I congratulate Prayant and Yashodan in taking some challenging topics here. It is heartening to see that the youngsters are taking more tougher topics for their respective research and presentation. The bar is getting raised after every research presentation or webinar. Let me congratulate the mentors who has guided them to take these topics. Prayant also has covered a large canvas while doing this research, an excellent effort. I wish him all the best. Yashodan has done shown guts to get into ISR domain and did a comparison between the adversaries, India and China. I'm surprised to see that he has done a wonderful job within the limitations he has. Great effort. I wish him all the best. I take this opportunity to remind young scholars who are present here that you are very lucky to be trained by such experienced mentors. Nowadays, we have many youngsters coming to us for this program, and we are limiting them to maintain the quality. So again, I take this opportunity to congratulate the mentors and the young scholars who are present here. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
your
sir.
work, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commander Nair. Now, moving forward, we will next we'll hear from our mentors who have been instrumental in guiding our presenters and my fellow interns. And I would like to welcome Group Captain P. Parthasarthi and also Shri Santosh Chandra, DIG IRPFS, to share their perspectives.
Dia, did you allow the Q&A section to happen? We stopped in video. So I think we'll have Q&A session before going to our members. Am I correct, sir?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. So now, how should we offer for questions?
So for the Q&A session, I would like everyone who has the audience who has their doubt to unmute themselves and voice their doubts.
So my question is to Yashodan. If you see the space-based ISR capabilities and the respective hardware, we service with China, we are very much behind. China is far ahead. Do you know the exact reasons why this has happened over the years? Could you study that, the reasons why it has happened? What was the mistake
So,
as a nation we have?
all due respect, your voice is not clear. I'm unable to get your question, sir.
Shall I repeat?
Yes, sir.
I'm audible?
Yes, sir, now you're
ISR
audible.
capabilities, we are very, very behind China, as your presentation shows it very clearly. What are the main reasons for this particular dilemma over the years? What do you feel? Where we have gone wrong?
So the question is specific to space-based assets or the overall ISR infrastructure?
Yeah. No, I'm just cut
Overall,
pasting my questions.
Yashodan,
Yeah. You
Yashodan,
can just see the message window. Message window, type it in.
Yes, sir. I got your question. So, though I think based on my study, the most important reason is India has not invested heavily in its defense industrial base. Since the 1990s, after the revolution in military affairs, which took place after the Gulf War in 1991, China recognized the significance of investment in technical intelligence, and it started investing in those areas which are important for information warfare right from the 1990s as well. And it bifurcated its missions to its military force structures accordingly. India lagged behind in this segment. Also, there are the major problem related to ISR force structure in India is, as I mentioned in the paper as well, the policy paralysis. We always lag behind in taking decisions. So this is a drawback. We'll have to work on this. So these are the two reasons which I have identified. So
Thank you.
Yeah, there's no question. It's just a comment which I would like to add. Investing in research and development also calls for investing in qualitative education. India, we are very fond of saying that our IITs are the best, our IITs are the best. But IITs by themselves cannot produce whatever the country needs. The entire education, shall we say, ecosystem, okay, right from your schooling to the higher education, both in technical as well as in social sciences and life sciences and pure sciences. Okay. It has to be brought up in such a manner that it becomes a feeder for the higher institutions to undertake meaningful research. Now, if such integration is not taking place, for whatever reasons, okay, we may call it because of our social justice concerns, because of our whatever concerns, we can keep saying that. But the fact is that we need to seriously look at qualitative education as the basis for creating the manpower, I will put it that way, or brain power that we need to undertake meaningful research and development. The second is you did mention about funding. Yes, we are spending hardly 1.6% of our GDP on R&D, and out of that 1.6%, God knows where the real that funding goes, because we don't see the end products coming out from those institutions. Whereas if we go to all these institutions, you find, like I'm talking about even in technical side, because we are all aware that India publishes something like 226,000 research papers, bulk of which are technical and medical. Technical and medical. But these 226,000 research papers produced in India internationally are relied upon, cited, referred to, debated. Okay. Only 0.6%. If you take China, which is the world leader in that dimension also, it's close to 9 or 10%. The United States of America is just behind it. You know, there are differences in decimals. That is because they have focused on their educational institutions. Yes, education is very costly affair in the United States of America because privately funded universities, you pay through your nose. Everything is fine. But the fact is they have concentrated on that. Here we have tied ourselves in various factors which need to be very carefully reassessed. You know, we have new education policy. UGC has reformed their QRs for research, promoting research. NIRF has started rating universities and institutions for research. Good steps are being taken, but these steps have to be hastened. They have to be hastened if we want to get the desired result. If that does not happen, the gap between the output of the R&D and even the capacity to do R&D, meaningful R&D, that will remain as wide as we see it today. This is a challenge that as a nation we need to address. Now, with specific reference to China, one simple example I'll give. Like you said, we have policy paralysis. I would like to, I think you're being polite. I may not be so polite in saying that it's not policy, we don't have perspective. Very long-term vision. Long-term means 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. And just give one example. In the year of the Lord 1991, when the melting of USSR took place and Ukraine was formed, okay, Russia was in the process of building another aircraft carrier, okay, which they called it as Riga. That huge hulk, that iron tub, was in the port in Ukraine, in Sevastopol. Ukraine was a newborn country. They were desperate for money, and we will be surprised to know that Ukraine offered that tub to India. They said, base is ready, Baba, why don't you take it and construct your aircraft carrier? India did not. China sent one of its lieutenant colonels from its army who successfully towed it over 2 years and brought it to China across these 3 oceans. It took 2 years for them to get it. And from that tub was born China's first aircraft carrier in 1996, just 5 years. Captain Parmar is here, JK is here, they're all maritime experts. Okay, they will be able to tell us how much time has it taken us for Vikramaditya. More than 10 years. More than 10 years. We may say that, sir, we have now come out with IAC 1. Yes, but how many years? The vagaries of politics and the lack of perspective, long-term vision. When we carefully look at China, I'm not trying to this thing, but see, if our enemy is good, one of the most fundamental teachings in the military is if your enemy is good, you must very carefully observe and learn from him. It's very important. Okay. So China is our enemy. Let's be very frank about it. Okay. And we are contestants, there's no doubt about it. But there is one lesson which, whether it is, Jintao, who is the president of the Hu Jintao, whether it is Deng Xiaoping, whether it is Mr. So-and-so, whether it is Mr. Xi Jinping, it does not matter. These programs of the Chinese government in procuring necessary, items and weapons and these things from anywhere that they need for their country, that program remains unaffected. That is why they have been able to grow exponentially as far as their naval power is concerned. Whereas we are affected by the vagaries of our politics. Okay, we may be very polite about it by not talking about it, but the fact of the matter is that. The fact of the matter is that, therefore, there is a need. See, forums like us, okay, we are very small, we are very minuscule, we don't, we don't matter anywhere. Okay, but forums like us which promote research must dispassionately, promote research into such elements which truly constitute what we call as national power. National power is not having 10 aircraft carriers and 200 elite aircraft. National power is the will to do things for our nation. Rest everything is an add-on. You want to write a good, write poetry, you can write it with a pencil or you can write it with a fountain pen. Okay, but the fact is that you have to get something to write first. So our focus should be there. Our focus should be there. And these are matters which can only be done through research, dispassionate, objective analysis of various factors that go into contributing to our strengths as well as weaknesses, and putting those papers across to the academia and larger community, opening it up for more debate, so that somewhere the thinking, the thought will strike and things will start happening. That is the purpose of doing this kind of program, and therefore we are very happy to say that our youngsters are taking such topics which can provoke thoughts. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
For
you
the
so much.
question,
I think we can go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
yes, sir. Any further questions? So we'll now put the question and answer session to a close. Now I would like to give our mentors the stage. Group Captain Pri Parthasarthi and Shri Santosh Chandra, DIG IRPFS, to share their perspectives and their views.
Okay. Good evening, mentors, all the august guests, and all my dear intern friends. To talk about today's presentation, I will say hats off to both Prayant and Yashodan in doing fantastic research in their paper and preparing really well, going deep to the extent that they could, and presenting the facts that we did. To specifically talk about Prayant, I will say his graphical representation of all the data which he had acquired. It was very good. I really like the way he had presented his data. Uh, One thing I should say about his presentation style, he seemed to be reading out. I wish he could be much more spontaneous and much more extempore in terms of, talking about the topic. And a little bit of fluency will do a great, great good to him in the future. I'm just saying this point for your future presentations. Well, your slides, the color schemes may require a little bit of tweaking. Again, like I said, this is advice for your future presentation. Like the findings and analysis which you presented in the end, it was slightly difficult to read the slides. So I think you may have a look at that. And I should really congratulate you on the way that you brought out the differences in operation by the Chinese government and by the Indian government in terms of hierarchy of people responsible for the different regions. Well, hats off to you. I think that point was well brought out. Well, congratulations to you once again for very well researched and very well presented presentation. Thank you. In terms of Yashodan's presentation, basically in analysis of maritime ISR capabilities between India and China in the Indian Ocean region, very well researched and well presented topic. In his presentation also, I thought he was reading out well. It didn't seem much, but because he had kept it in front, but well, we would really like you to present a bit more spontaneously. Okay, you were fluent and you could, cover the topic in the relevant time given to you. Great. The need for ISR in this Indonesian region was well brought out, and the gap between the two countries, it's such a big burgeoning gap, which was really well brought out. Good. And I really appreciated the way forward that you brought. The content-wise analysis of your presentation and Priyant's presentation was given by Captain Parmar very nicely. So I will not go very deep into it. It was very good to the extent that the information that you had in your hand, I should say, like Captain Parmar said, bravo Zulu. And in Air Force, very well done. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would now like to ask Sri Santosh Chandra sir to take the stage.
Thank you, Riya. First of all, good evening to all my seniors, Nair sir, Parmar sir, Parsati sir, and Dr. Srinivasan sir. Thanks for this opportunity. First of all, to both Prayant and Yashovardhan, excellent presentations. Parsati sir has already covered the issues that I also wanted to raise. Only for Prayant, one small issue probably in your graphs, your scales were different. So when you're putting the graphs next to each other, just keep in mind that when you're seeing the scales, because one was talking in thousands, the other was in hundreds. So they look similar. But because the scales were different, we cannot make out the comparison. Okay, that is one this thing. Yashovardhan has done excellent this thing, nothing to comment on that. Couple of small points I just want to, in general, talk, although Parmar sir has touched upon it much in detail, and then both Nair sir and Dr. Srinivasan have this thing. One is what Dr. Srinivasan was telling. I'd just like to add to that, that we need a national security policy. And we don't have a national security policy, although now the National Security Council Secretariat is trying to formulate a policy and going ahead into this. Whereas if you see China, they are having a national security policy, and post 1991, at the end of the Cold War, they have moved ahead and trying to end the American hegemony. That is the main this thing. And if you see the Belt and Road Initiative, they are having about 150 plus countries now are part of the Belt and Road Initiative, and these are countries that are signing treaties with China. Okay, and as well as in the string of pearls, they're doing this thing. Of course, I think it was Prayant who brought out the way they were dealing with this debt trap diplomacy that the China is moving ahead, and that is good. But like what Dr. Srinivasan was telling, we as a country do not have a long-term vision. Okay, and that is something that as young researchers, as young people, tomorrow a lot of you will be in civil services, a lot of you will be leading the country, hopefully into the future. And I think all of us here, I take my seniors this thing, we all wish you the best of luck for that. That we hope to see you in some place where you would be deciding policy for the country. Okay, and this is something that we are not focusing on. What Dr. Srinivasan said was very, very correct, that we don't have a long-term strategy with anything. I mean, we are seeing what's happening with Maldives. Okay, we are utterly messing it up to a large extent, the way we are going about it. So that's all I need to say. Of course, China also is following what they call as a major country diplomacy strategy. They actually have a strategy which they are following, and they are literally everywhere across the world. They're not just concentrating on the Indian Ocean region or on Southeast Asia or Asia. They're even as far as South America, China is having influence. Africa, of course, they have totally, East Africa, they are totally this thing. Now, slowly, they're moving into West Africa, building ports, building stuff, infrastructure, and all that. But even as far off as South America, they are having their finger. Whereas, although bits and pieces we do, like during COVID, we had that vaccine diplomacy and things like that, to a large extent, we are not having a long-term strategy. So that is something that, as youngsters, please look into it, and everywhere you can, please shout about this and say, let us have a national security strategy. I think I'm right in saying that, sir. My seniors, Dr. Srinivasan, Nair sir, Partha sir.
Absolutely.
Sir, that's it. Best wishes to all of you. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you, Diya.
Thank you, sir. Both of the speeches were wonderful and truly something that all of us can put to use in our research journey, and something that we will definitely be using to see success far ahead. Now, for moving on to
Can
the
I
final.
add 1 point? So 2 points here. If you allow me here.
Please.
There are other reasons that, which I've been to integrated headquarters in Delhi and all. So many times in the last 20, 30 years, my seniors and our batch also, we found it very difficult to convince the bureaucracy to push our requirements. The huge gap between the existing bureaucracy and the defense establishment, which is, we are trying to actually bridge it, the last 10, 15 years. This is one reason. Second reason, the political system or the bureaucratic system which we had for the last 50, 60 years, they're very happy in, importing and taking, a commission, whatever they want to. It is probably, you all know about it, so indigenous development never happened. And the added focus which is required in this particular area was never there. So these two are the reasons which I would love to. I also see Parmar sir has come to the screen. He wanted to share some thoughts. Captain Parmar sir, please, sir.
I was just going to agree with the need for a national security strategy, because without any guidelines in black and white, it's difficult to work together as one, and it also serves as a strategic communication to the world as to our intents and intentions. So it's important, and and there will always be two. One will be the one which is in the open domain, and one which is classified. So the classified one would differ from what is out in the open, and this is example is the way nations behave which is sometimes in opposition to their stated policies and the national security strategies which they keep out there. So it has to be a well documented. And I was party to the revision of the 2015 naval unclassified strategy document. So it takes some effort to do it, but we need to go ahead with it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. As we draw to a close, I would like to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone that made this session possible and success. Starting with our presenters, Mr. Prayant, Mr. Yashodan. Thank you for your insightful and analytical papers. They were truly something that we would use to view our papers and view for a researcher further, and something that truly toggles our mind to think further. I would also like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our esteemed guest, Group Captain Parthasarthi, Group Captain Dr. Srinivasan, Sri Santosh Chandra, DIG IRPFS, Colonel Sandeep Aluk, and Commander J.K. Nair for gracing us with your presence and your support for making this event possible and successful. I would also like to thank our mentors, Commander J.K. Nair and Group Captain Dr. Raj Srinivasan. Thank you for your unwavering support, sirs, and thank you for your contribution. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow intern, Uttam Roy, who has been the kind of backstage supporter for conducting this event. Finally, I would thank our wonderful audience for your attention and your engagement. We hope that you found this event insightful and inspiring as well. For the final thank you, I would once again like to thank all of you for joining today's event and for making today's event successful and this evening a great and very informative evening. We look forward to meeting all of you again.
Yeah, Dia, we need to express our very special thanks to Captain Sarabjeet Parmar, because he being here with us today throughout this presentation and sharing his insights, okay, is something which both these youngsters will cherish forever. And for this program also, I mean, as DRaS-Praghna program, I'm saying, as mentors, we owe you a special thank you note, sir, for being with us.
Happy to be here. Very good interaction. Thank you.
It's a pleasure that you were able to spare so much of your time and be with us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm taking leave. Hope to catch up.
All right, sir. Sure,
once
sir.
again.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.